Eliminate the workplace excuse. That's what leaders do. This is the Career Blind Spot Podcast. Why were you such a shitty remote employee 10 plus years ago?
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, because I'm currently a remote employee.
I said were.
Okay, yeah, that's true. The beginning of working from home, not great. Why was I so bad?
I said shitty.
All right. I was very shitty at being a stay-at-home worker for a few reasons. One, it was for a company that had given me so much structure in what I did all day, down to like telling me how many bathroom breaks I took in a day, that I didn't know how to work outside of that structure constructively. And also, I hated that job.
Yeah.
I hated it. It was a travel analyst, so dealing with people's company credit card, like their travel transactions, and trying to do like analysis on it. And it was so gray and messy, and nothing was uniform, and it was awful.
You know what's funny? I'm going to say it, and we can always pull this.
Oh, God.
But GBT, Global Business Travel.
Yes.
Which is a client of mine. Sort of.
Yeah. They were sort of.
The Ladders group
yeah.
I presented the last couple of years. Hope to again, although with the baby, I'm not sure. But yeah, Courtney, let's just say it. I think we've said it in the past, but you worked at, do you want to?
Yeah.
Oh, American Express. You gave me a look. American Express, and you started, what, in the claims or?
I started in corporate card customer service.
AKA getting yelled at by people who don't know how to pay their bills.
No, it was more people who didn't know how to do expense reports. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But then you got, what, a couple different jobs?
Yeah, got promoted to supervisor.
And then I remember supporting you on go to get that money.
Right.
And I think the concept of remote work, I mean, I knew it. I'd done it, and I knew people who did it, but just the culture shock, I don't think I'd even factored in.
No.
Just describe your job. Like yes, you were remote, but like what were you responsible for?
Just analyzing people's corporate card travel. So like an employee of a company would go on a business trip and put everything on their American Express corporate card, and my job was to pull the information provided by the airlines and analyze it.
Explain it to my nana.
I look at things and then I tell people stories.
Okay. So what was so hard about it?
It wasn't, I had come from black and white with numbers and money, and I was trying to analyze and show like travel patterns was kind of what they were looking for. And I wasn't really trained. Like the person who trained me did it over IM instead of like having a call. And Zoom wasn't like a thing that we did at that company. So it was really awkward.
I remember basically the way I saw your job was there is no clear way of doing this job. There are no key accountabilities.
Yeah.
Your job is to get on the phone and yell at people for information that you may or may not need and just report it to someone who really doesn't care, and you're going to get yelled at anyway.
Right. That's pretty accurate.
So basically, another way to put it, for someone who likes to follow rules, likes to cross T's, dot I's, at least back then, back when you wanted to be a robot. Well, I'll have you elaborate because that was the past episode. It was the opposite. It was instead of crossing T's and dotting I's, it was make shit up. Yeah. And not even, I'm going to say I hate, but the phrase fake it till you make it is terrible for someone who wants the instructions.
Yes.
And for those who are disc aficionados, that's a high I telling a high C. Well, just follow what I do.
Nope. Shut it down.
And that might be okay for a nonsense role.
Right.
And that might be the job, but it broke you.
Yes, it did. It did.
You were in there, like a year?
Almost 2.
Is the most money you made at that time, right? Or up until then?
Up until now, still. I still am just below what I made.
What? Why are we doing this podcast? You could go back and work.
I don't know.
But yeah, like, how'd you feel doing the job?
Like a failure every single day. I hated it. I got no satisfaction. I didn't like the interactions that I had with people. Nobody was around. I was in the house all day by myself, tied to a computer. It was just not a good fit.
Did you know what question I was going to ask because I forgot.
I mean, it was on top of that too, was we were getting married when I was in that job, and I had asked to take 2 weeks off for us to get married and go on a honeymoon. And they had been like, we can't lose you for that long. And I was like, I don't do anything of value. Yes, you can. And so we had to negotiate just 10 days.
Oh, I know my question. If it wasn't remote, how do you think it would have been different?
I think if there would have been somebody that I could go to and say, hey, I don't understand this. Can you physically show me what it is that you're saying rather than somebody showing me over IM? I think it would have been a better situation. But at the end of the day, it still would have been too gray for me to actually enjoy it.
So in terms of, give me a grade again, but in terms of how well you would have enjoyed it, not even done it, but enjoyed it. A+, you love it. F, no way.
It would have been a D.
A D at best.
Yeah.
In an office.
Because
you could have asked some questions, but they would have gave you fluff, vague answers that don't really have support or
Well, I mean, you have to remember that I got my analyst job prior to that when I was in the office. And so I learned everything from my coworkers. I took, Excel classes on my own, but to go figure out how they were actually creating these things for these huge companies, I was able to go sit with people and watch what they did. And it made it so much easier.
So I just tricked you.
Oh, no.
I finally got you to admit remote work is a terrible idea.
No, we have Zoom now and screen sharing.
Nope.
This was 10 plus years ago.
You really think people are good at explaining things over Zoom and screen sharing?
I think it makes things a lot easier, yes.
For the record, I don't think remote work is a terrible idea, but Courtney thinks all in-office stuff is dumb and
I didn't say that. Her. No. My stance is if I'm going to the office, I'm going to get nothing done but socializing with coworkers, and I don't like wasting my time.
Courtney does not like you if you're her coworker. She hasn't said no yet.
I prefer online interaction. I run a meeting once a week with like 17 people in it, and I love it. And I love talking to those people because I know when I hit the end button, I can get up and walk away.
So here's my... I don't think it's... No, I know I'm right, but I'm not saying it's in stone. The in-office stuff is there because there's people who... they're not just... There's incompetent systems or inferior systems that should be able to train you. I had... I think it was... No, Trainial is a local company that makes like SOPs and stuff. But Scribe, it does this AI thing where you do something on your computer and it automatically makes a standard operating procedure. So then it makes it easier to train someone how to do it.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in remote work, but, or I should say, and I am a big seer of bad onboarding. And so you have these companies who are like, yeah, we're not going to get better at onboarding. Just come into the office so you can look over someone's shoulder versus, well, now you got to do Zoom and now you got to do this and now because it is extra stuff.
And I think I'm also a little bit biased because remote work at my company there's people here in Phoenix and then there's people who are in other states, and most people in other states are the tech people, which is who I work with on a regular basis. So me going into the office does not benefit them at all, and it certainly does not really benefit me.
Certainly.
Okay. 9 months pregnant, 3 hours of sleep.
8 months.
Tuesday will be 9 months. Okay.
I'm just being mean to you, but it's also late and we're tired. And Courtney, what'd you say? You did want to be caught off guard, so.
Yeah. You're not being mean.
I'm not?
No.
Okay, good. But no, I still stand by it. You're saying you want to be effective and optimal.
Correct.
I'm saying most companies and bosses don't want that.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, because if they did, they'd pay for it.
Right.
And I also think when you really are kicking ass and doing work, and not just you, anyone who's remote, you want to see people in person. And I think there's a lot of remote people who don't. I think eventually, not saying every day, that you would be happy to see, I won't say their names, at a lunch event or a team thing. Not all the time, not every week, but I think when you're really good at your job, you actually do want to see people, dare I say, once a quarter. And I know from other people in different jobs, different demands, there's this like bell curve or some type of extremes of when you're really good, yeah, you can do most of your work at home or remote, whatever. But at the same time, you do want to see people. but you have most companies don't want to pay A+ salaries.
Right.
And they say they want high performers. They say they want people who put good effort in, but the people who make up the remote work, and I'm not saying just with your company or any company, it's a big hodgepodge of people who, I wouldn't say they're shitty, but they're not as, I think they would be more effective if they were in the office. They would be a D instead of an F, or they would be a C instead of a D.
Maybe.
Yeah, not maybe. I know.
Okay.
I've seen it. See it all the time. And so I think remote, it should not be a perk. It is a thing that you have because you need something done. We haven't met shout out to our CPA Brian. We haven't met him. We've never even seen his face.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing with all my money. But he gets it done. He saves us money. He gets ahead of the curve. Like, I don't care where his office is. Is that every job? When I go see a nurse or a doctor, we want to see them in the office. But also, do I want my doctor working, 20-hour straight shifts?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But that does happen.
Yeah.
If you were to do that job again today, the Amex, how do you think it'd go?
I think it would still be not great.
I think you'd be way better at it. I don't think you would love it.
Better, yeah. I think when we left the office in 2020, I had to learn really fast how to do all the things, like the micro commute that a coworker told me about. Like when you walk into your office, just pretend like the walk there is your commute. Like that really helped. Having an actual desk really helped.
Oh yeah, that's the cover of one of ours. Your tiny desk. I think the dog's bigger than the desk in the picture. I think
I was in a child's chair at the time.
What do you think you'd be better at today?
I'm a lot better at not worrying if I'm bothering somebody by reaching out asking for help. That used to bother me so much because I couldn't see people's facial expressions to know if they were like frustrated with me or whatever. And so I would just always go worst case scenario, trying to learn this stuff over via IM. Like, who does that?
I always said we wouldn't be in a relationship if it wasn't for text message.
Yeah, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I taught you how to text.
I'm like, Courtney, do you like me? This is in person, just stares. But then I'd leave and then I get a text. Boom. I love you. Mm-hmm. Come back. You can't say that to your coworkers.
But it would just mean something different.
But I also think if you, or I'll ask you instead of tell you, if you had Zoom back then, I still think your anxiety and your antisocial.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. You're absolutely right about that. Therapy and mental health medication and support has made me into a completely different person.
Yeah.
So much so that we had a coworker of mine who trained me to do the job that I do now. He left the company for 2 or 3 years and came back and was like, I'm sorry, you talk to people now? Like you lead meetings? What's going on? So that definitely changed.
I'm going to land this plane. Feel free to add. We got plenty of time, but sure. I think we're running in circles. I'm going to call it two crowds. That the people who don't turn on their Zooms in team meetings and you're remote, you're ruining it for everyone. Get your shit together. On the other hand, I do respect that not everyone needs to turn on their video to get certain things done, but you're also part of a team. And it's kind of like saying, you go to the office, be like, I don't want to wear pants. Well, there's a protocol here, and whether it's written down or not, like you shouldn't have to have rules when other people are responsible.
Right.
But on the other side, when people aren't turning on their videos or whatever on your meetings, leaders and people running these Zoom meetings, get your fucking shit together.
Yeah.
You're wasting people's time. And to your point about not socializing, like if you're making people come to the office to do a job they can do just as, if not more effectively remotely, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying if you want them to be happy, you better have a better incentive.
Right.
Non-bias, I think workshops and one-on-one coaching, but something that actually gets the camaraderie up that you can't do separately. Like I can call my mom on FaceTime, but in person, I can hug her. We can go to eat. We can do a lot of different things. The pandemic took away our social skills, and a lot of us have them back now, but forgot that it was gone. So if you're making people to come back to the office, or you're making them sit on these meetings and they're boring and they don't turn on their, like, that's on you, man. Like, cut that shit short. But also, if you're showing up,
shut them down early.
Oh, I got a new nickname for you.
Oh,
I told you already.
What is it?
I was like, Aaron posted that thing on Instagram about, he had a nicer name, but people who like suck time on
meeting
meetings.
Vampires.
And I said meeting vampires are real.
Yeah.
And Courtney is the Blade, Wesley Snipes of the meeting vampire.
I wish I was that cool and had that much black in my wardrobe.
People always trying to ice skate uphill. You actually watched those movies last year, and
I did.
They held up. Any last words on what were we talking about? Oh, remote work. why you weren't good at it, or why you're better at it now?
No, I mean, I wasn't good at it. I did a lot of things to improve myself, and I'm better at it
This
now.
is kind of an open can of worms, but I think you can do it succinctly.
That's my favorite kind of question.
I'm saying this, audience, as a compliment, and I think for a long time Courtney didn't hear it, but I think I know she will now. But as someone who did not get higher education, you're smart. And between AI and data and all these and research, everything, you're good. What kind of advice do you have, education, formal or not, to people who want to be better at remote work?
Go to therapy.
Why?
Because if you're having trouble with stuff, there's probably something else that's going on that you should be addressing. So I don't think I struggled so much with that job because I didn't know what I was doing. It was more, I don't want to reach out and bother this person. And that's a problem that I needed to talk through in therapy.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Peace.
I make this show for leaders, those who don't point fingers, but point towards ways they can do better at work. My ask for listening is you share the show on social and or with other leaders, established or aspiring. Until then, no talent, no culture, no excuses.